Hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steph, if you could do roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Totino?
Present.
Councilmember Serna?
Here.
Councilmember Kingsley?
Here.
Councilmember Barton?
Here.
Councilmember Elam?
Present.
Vice President Sokolowski?
Here.
President Leonard?
Here.
Mayor Aronson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there any public comment for the agenda items this evening? For the record, Britt, there is no public comment for the agenda items. The first item on the agenda is under presentations. It is the proclamation 2023-02 recognizing the Conshohocken Italian Bakery for 50 years of service to the community. Kathleen, if you could go up, please. Yes. Kathleen Kingsley is going to do the presentation and read the proclamation.
Okay. Whereas Conshohocken Italian Bakery was founded on March 13, 1973, when two local friends and co-workers, Dominic and Frank Whitey Manzi, ventured out from Borzillo's Bakery to start their own bakery. And as whereas Dom, an Italian immigrant from Montello, Italy, and Frank, an Arstonian, hit the ground running and quickly became the go-to fresh bread manufacturers in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And whereas, while they mainly supplied wholesale customers with their products, their small retail store outlet soon became a Conshohocken favorite for fresh breads, rolls, and tomato pies. And whereas over the years, the bakery expanded and ownership changed, but they've remained dedicated to providing quality baked goods to the 5-county region and beyond. And whereas March of 2023 marked the bakery's 50th year in business, and on most days you will still find Dom and his son Mike hard at work. And now, therefore, the Borough of Conshohocken wishes to extend its congratulations and commend the Conshohocken Italian Bakery for 50 years of distinguished service within the borough. Proclaimed the 15th day of February of the year 2023. And we have a plaque here for you too. It's from the Borough of Conshohocken. And we can put it here. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations. You want to get a picture? You always got to make a picture taken when you come to Conshohocken. We like to take pictures of everything. Or up here.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. Let's go. Anyone else? All right. Okay. Okay, one more with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Got it.
but they're having one. What? No, where the Korean church is on Butler Pike. Yeah, it's still there. The building's still there.
Falling apart here. Smile. Keep going. Okay, so if council is so inclined this evening, the motion is to approve Proclamation 2023-02, recognizing the Conshohocken Italian Bakery's 50 years of service to the community.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go off the agenda a little bit and go to, I believe it's under new business. Steph, if you would like to go over that real quickly, and we'll do the motion for the bakery.
So the Italian Bakery, in honor of their 50-year anniversary, is going to have a community event on Sunday, March 26th from around 1 to 4 p.m. There will be setup times around 9 and break time around 4:30. The request is to close Jones Street between Spring Mill and Hector Street. And if you can picture it, it'll be kind of a block party that will be celebrating the 50th anniversary. Tina has submitted all the proper documentation in terms of the special event request. There was a few items remaining, and she's going back and forth, but it has been reviewed administratively by all department heads, and all event requirements have been satisfied, and we do not have any concerns. So if you're inclined, we would be requesting a motion for approval of that event contingent upon final administrative review this evening. And Tina, I don't know if is there anything I missed or? Good, okay.
Okay, thank you, Steph. So the motion for council this evening is to approve a special event application for the Conshohocken Italian Bakery on Sunday, March 26, 2023, contingent upon final administrative review.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is under Land Use Matters, Public Hearings and Ordinances. The first item is consider granting a waiver of off-street parking for 126 Fayette Street, Beauty in Us. I will turn that over to Mr. Peters for review.
Thank you, President Leonard. We have circulated for your consideration a decision, order, and agreement that would grant the request for a waiver of off-street parking for 126 Fayette Street for a nail salon. You heard a presentation on this matter on February 1st at your work session. The waiver would be granted for a nail salon, conditioned on compliance with the representations made in the application and as presented to council. And as we are now trying to do with respect to these waivers, we added in a stipulation that if another personal service shop is proposed within this area, within this property, and it's determined by borough administration with the assistance of the borough's consultants that the demand on parking will not be greater than proposed by this nail salon, that the borough would have the ability to transfer the waiver, which should hopefully help to cut down on the number of hearings that you need to hear. And otherwise, if there will be an increase in parking, it will be back before you. That is the proposal before you, to grant the waiver of off-street parking subject to those conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're welcome.
So for council this evening, the motion is to approve a waiver of off-street parking for 126 Fayette Street, Beauty in Us.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consider approving Resolution 2023-06, approving preliminary final land development for 701 Fayette Street. Again, I will turn that over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. At your last meeting, your work session, you heard a presentation on 701 Fayette Street. It is a land development whereby all existing features on that property, aside from an existing paved alleyway, would be removed. Proposed in its place is a mixed-use building with retail on the first floor and 9 apartments spread across the second and third floors. There was previous zoning relief that was granted, which is set forth in a draft resolution prepared for your review. That zoning relief was appealed, resulting in a settlement, and thereafter the applicant filed a request for land development approval. The applicant has applied for certain waivers from your SAUDO, which we'll review as we review the proposed conditions of approval, and the Borough's Planning Commission recommended approval subject to certain conditions. The resolution as before you, aside from that background, provides for granting preliminary and final approval of the plan as presented, subject to the following conditions. One, the applicant would be granted the waiver from 22306.a, parens 1, to excuse the requirement that all existing features within 100 feet of the development be depicted, subject to the condition that the applicant submit all information deemed necessary by the borough engineer. Condition 2, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO section 22-308C to permit only one submission for preliminary and final land development. Condition 3, the applicant would be granted requested waivers from SAUDO section 22-404.3 F parens 1, 404.3 F parens 2, 404.3 F parens 5, and 22-421.5 regarding buffer strips, screens, and shade trees, conditioned on the applicant installing an opaque fence around the trash enclosure, planting a minimum of 48-inch high shrubs along East 7th Avenue, and planting a minimum of 6-foot-high evergreens along the eastern property line. The applicant would be granted the requested waiver to permit grading within 3 feet of the property lines from section 22-409.2. The applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO section 22-420.2 to permit only 2 replacement trees, subject to the condition that the applicant shall plant larger trees within the eastern buffer than those currently shown on the plan, subject to the review of the borough. Condition 6, the applicant would be granted a partial waiver from 22-421.4 to permit street trees within the right-of-way, subject to the approval of PennDOT if required, and subject to the requirement that the applicant maintain the trees. Applicant would be granted a partial waiver, condition 7, from section 22-804 to permit payment of a fee in lieu of park and rec facilities in the amount of $36,000. Conditions 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the applicant would comply with the review letters of the borough engineer, borough zoning officer, borough fire marshal, borough traffic engineer, and the Montgomery County Planning Commission to the extent required by the borough as set forth in the resolution. Condition 13, construction of the project shall substantially comply with the renderings presented to council, SK1, SK2, SK3, prepared by JL Architects, dated July 29th, 2022. Condition 14, the applicant shall comply with the zoning hearing board decision. Condition 15, the applicant shall comply with the terms of the settlement agreement from the zoning hearing board decision, which includes a contribution of $25,000 to the borough shuttle program. Condition 16, the applicant shall execute a permanent easement to the satisfaction of the borough manager and borough solicitor for the existing alley encroachment on the property. Condition 17, applicant shall obtain the approval of the borough manager and borough solicitor for any shared parking or similar agreement for the parking lot. Condition 18 and 19, the applicant shall execute a stormwater operations and maintenance and land development and escrow agreement satisfactory to the borough manager and borough solicitor. Condition 20, the applicant shall satisfy any outstanding invoices with the borough for the application. And 21, the applicant shall otherwise comply with the resolution. That is the resolution as presented to you following review of borough staff and all of your consultants, and it is ready for a vote this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're welcome.
So the motion is to approve Resolution 2023-06, approving preliminary final land development for 701 Fayette Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the consent agenda. There are 2 items this evening on the consent agenda. It is approve and adopt the January 4th and 18 regular meeting minutes and approve the January ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. So if council is so inclined this evening, the motion for both items is to approve and adopt the January 4th, January 8th regular meeting minutes and to approve the January ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $541,978.82.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is new business, and I will turn that over to Ms. Checo.
Thank you, President Leonard. Annually, we review the borough's fee schedule. This year, we are presenting Resolution 2023-07 with 2 changes to the borough's fee schedule. The first is a revision to the zoning conditional use fee charges for both commercial and residential hearings. The current cost is $500 for residential and $750 in escrow fees for conditional use specifically. An evaluation was done of actual costs encumbered over the course of 1 fiscal year. Those escrow charges are not covering the true cost of what it takes to process a conditional use application through the entire zoning procedure. Therefore, the zoning fees on the overall borough's fee schedule are going to be increased. The residential escrow will be $750 and the commercial escrow will be $1,250. We feel like that, again, we'll continue to assess to determine whether or not those fees are sufficient, but that is basically the average of the costs that were encumbered by applicants over the course of fiscal year 2022. And they are escrows, so if any dollars are not expended, that money goes back to the applicant.
Okay.
And then the other revision to the fee schedule is the facade improvement program is a program that no longer exists. Therefore, the fee needs to be removed from the fee schedule. So if inclined, the resolution in front of you would be amending the borough's fee schedule for fiscal year 2023. And again, we'll come back in 2024 with any other proposed revisions.
Thank you, Steph. So if council is inclined, the motion is to approve Resolution 2023-07, amending the borough's fee schedule.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the liquid fuels project. The borough is going to submit to PennDOT a 2023 liquid fuels road program. The project will consist of roadway reconstruction and resurfacing on Harry Street from 4th Avenue to 8th Avenue. It will include the total reconstruction of those intersections. They're much needed at that location. And an alternate bid, which includes resurfacing the travel lanes along Springwell Avenue from 4th Avenue to Cherry Street. This evening, we are simply requesting authority to advertise those bid documents. The price that is set right now for the base and alternate bid is approximately $556,375. That amount is paid out of the PennDOT Liquid Fuels program. So those are not tax dollars. Those are dollars received from PennDOT through the liquid fuels tax, which will pump right back into the roadways.
So Stephanie, just for clarification, this is not mill and overlay, there's actual repairs going to be done underneath.
That is correct. So we are actually going down into the asphalt. There will be a mill and overlay, but there also will be curb ramps that are going to be constructed, asphalt reconstruction, removal and disposal of the existing drainage pipes, and then rebuilding of swales that should be sufficient to carry the water load to the correct location. And then, of course, afterwards, there'll be pavement-based repairs, then mill and overlay, then asphalt, and then line striping and pavement markings.
And we have no indication that Aqua has any intention to tear up the road once we do this?
So we specifically targeted that location because Aqua and Pico work has been completed in that area. So what we're trying to do on an annual basis is we meet with representatives from Pico and Aqua at the beginning of the year. It's not an exact science because there are emergencies that pop up, or there might be something on their schedule that they can't relate to us at the moment. But that specific area is in our overall infrastructure plan. It is a significant area that needs repair. It was especially attractive because there's already been work completed there. If you go in that location, you'll see half the street already paved because that infrastructure work by Pico and Aqua has been completed. Now, if something pops up, they'll always have to go in. We can't stop them from cutting it up, but we're trying to coordinate with Pico and Aqua to the best of our abilities. Number one, to save costs. Number two, to try to eliminate as much as we can us doing extensive and expensive work and then having it ripped up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Stefan, that's the same on Harry Street also. The water company has already done from 8th Avenue down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes,
But they
correct.
haven't done from 8th Avenue up,
They have not, no.
which is why it's not getting done,
But it,
or not one of the reasons.
right, I mean, if you look at the overall costs, we're talking about just 4 blocks, and you're
Right.
talking about in excess of $500,000. So, as we've been saying over and over again, infrastructure is not cheap. However, we have saved up sufficient funds in the liquid fuels program because we knew we were going to have pockets of troubled areas that we needed to focus on, and this is the first one we are going to tackle.
So if we pulled the road program off the shelf, blew some of the dust off it, this is one of the priority areas?
This is one of the priority areas, especially when you consider the foot traffic that's going to Marywood Park and the community center, and it's the main thoroughfare down to the commercial district. So, and if you just walk that area, you'll see, you might not understand all the engineering technicalities of what is actually going on or what needs to be done to correct those deficiencies, but you can just tell that there needs to be something done to address those issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. So the
Welcome.
motion for council this evening is to authorize advertisement of bid documents for 2023 Liquid Fuels Road Program project at an estimated amount of $556,375.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The retaining wall at Aubrey Collins Park, that was bid out in an emergency work status. I'll wait till everybody leaves. You can go. No, go ahead. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
We very appreciate it.
Thank you.
very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I see how it is. I start talking and everybody leaves. I don't blame them.
Still some important people here.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. I just bored them to death with my liquid fuels project discussion. Okay, let's talk about the Aubrey Collins retaining wall project then. That's much more exciting. We, through an emergency procedure, allocated funds to fix deficiencies in the retaining wall at Aubrey Collins Park. Part of the work also included work on the HOA side of that residential area. That work has been completed. There is a punch list that is remaining. So this evening in front of you is authorization to release payment, partial payment. It's payment certificate number 1. We will be coming back at a later date for the remaining items, but there is a punch list, and there also is a list of items from the HOA side that need to be addressed through our engineering office and the contractor.
Thank you, Steph. So the motion this evening is to authorize payment certificate number 1 for the Aubrey Collins Park retaining wall replacement project in the amount of $50,800.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and again, I will turn it over to Stephanie Check.
Thank you, President Leonard. We will be coordinating and implementing a Main Street overlay ordinance task force. We have done public forums, we have done public meetings, we have developed a comprehensive plan, so this is kind of the next step in terms of our Fayette Street corridor and the future. We had 10 applicants that applied. They interviewed on January 4th and January 18th. The task force has to consist of 2 members of Borough Council, 2 Borough residents, 3 Borough business owners, the Borough zoning officer, and the Borough manager or designee. This evening, we are ready to appoint to that Main Street overlay ordinance, I can't say the word, ordinance task force. And then following the appointment, the individuals that have been selected will be notified. We will also be reaching out to the individuals that weren't selected just because we had more applicants than we do have spots. urging and encouraging them to come to all of the meetings because they will be public meetings, so anyone from the public can come, they'll be advertised, and the individuals that expressed interest in being members of the task force, we're going to highly recommend or urge that they come and participate. They won't have a formal vote, but they will have a voice.
Thank you, Stephanie. So the motion before council this evening is to appoint Bill McLaughlin, Bill Sabanis, Julian Mariah, Lisa Rhodes, Brian Magran, Tina Sokolowski, and Stacy Elm to the Main Street Overlay Task Force.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the design consultant for the Sutcliffe Park Trail Reconstruction Project. Council approved the RFP to go out to request submissions for that design consultant. The borough received 3 proposals. We received one from Gilmore and Associates, one from Brummington and Vernick, and one from Engineering and Land Planning Associates Incorporated. Those proposals were reviewed and evaluated by the borough manager, the director of recreation services, and the community development and grant coordinator. In your meeting materials, we provided a bid summary, which broke down the firm, the total cost of the consultant services, the cost per hour. So we looked at not just the total overall cost, but the amount of hours, manpower that was allocated by the firm and what that cost came out to per hour. And then specific comments of what we specifically were looking for and what in a partner that's going to be extremely important, not only because Sutcliffe Park is so highly utilized and fitness and wellness and quality of life have been major priorities for council, but also because this is state grant money that we have been given the privilege of receiving. So we want to make sure that the project is done correctly. We also have a DEP requirement at Sutcliffe Park, and the way the permitting works with the Conservation District, we have to be very mindful of the DEP timelines and our grant timelines because both projects really need to be coordinated seamlessly so that we can ensure that breaking ground on one project doesn't affect our timelines on another. So it was very interesting to read the 3 proposals in depth and break down kind of the understanding from each firm of the borough's specific and important needs for this project. And so this evening in front of you, the recommendation from administration is that design consultant services would be awarded to Gilmore and Associates, a not to exceed of $88,750. The borough will, outside of the grant amounts, the borough will have to allocate approximately $60,000 for the design consultant costs. Those dollars are allocated in your capital budget. And again, this is going to be a project that crosses over numerous years, so those costs will continue to be budgeted until the completion of the project.
Thank you, Stephanie. So the motion this evening for council is to award a bid for design consultant services for the Sutcliffe Park Trail Reconstruction Project to Gilmore and Associates, Inc. at a not-to-exceed amount of $88,750.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And just as a end note on that item, Borough Council's approval of the bid for the design consultant services will now have to be put in front of DCNR, the grant manager. They do have final approval of the subcontractors for the projects, but Borough Council approval is required first.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. The last item is the license agreement with Lumina for a dog park. The stipulations of the license agreement were reviewed at your work session meeting. The agreement is in front of you this evening for consideration with the stipulation that the final license agreement will be contingent upon final review by the borough solicitor and the borough manager. The last remaining item that we are working back and forth with the management group is the annual membership fee.
Right.
So we will be negotiating up to a certain amount, and if that negotiation is met and sufficient to what we feel are the needs of the community, then we will process and finalize that agreement and enter into the license for the dog park with Lumina.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. So the motion this evening is to approve a license agreement with Lumina for a dog park, contingent upon a final review by the Borough Solicitor and Borough Manager.
I'll make that motion. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? There is no public comment this evening, so I will start with Mayor Aronson.
All right, thank you, President Leonard. So I wanted to start with, a few weeks ago, Council approved a resolution celebrating the Conshohocken VFW's 90th anniversary. They had their ceremony a couple weeks ago, and it was in Marywood Park House. It turned out really, really well. So thank you for your support, as always, of the VFW. And it was noted how beautiful the renovations are looking at Marywood Park. So thank you for that. We also have, so my office hours on February 27th, I had a notary reach out and offer free notary services at my next office hours. So I'll be advertising that, but I wanted to make sure everyone at home and here knows that we'll have those free services for residents. And then finally, I know things didn't turn out the way we wanted as far as the Super Bowl, but I drove around the borough on Sunday, and it was such a great atmosphere. People playing football in the street, Girl Scouts everywhere, everyone in a great mood. So as always, we just have this wonderful community spirit. Hopefully we get more opportunities to do that. But kudos to all our residents for celebrating and bringing such a wonderful atmosphere to the borough.
Right. And even that's how properties with their
That's
t-shirt
how, yeah.
giveaway.
Yeah, they ran out in 5 minutes.
Great. Yeah.
5 minutes?
5 minutes, yes.
5 minutes.
Yes. I took a lot of heat for that. Thank you.
How many shirts was that in 5 minutes, Bill?
200.
Oh, my God. You'll know next time, huh? Yeah, but that was really nice of you.
Thank you.
Good, Jenny? Okay, thank you. Stacy?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Anita?
Pitchers and catchers are at Phillies training. I'm
That's-
excited.
That's
Go
exciting.
Phils.
Kathleen, do you have anything this evening? Adrian?
There is a Red Cross blood drive at the Fritz Lodge in Conshohocken this Saturday. So if you want to give some blood and help out, please join us. Thanks.
Thank you. Karen?
I have nothing this evening.
Tina?
Nothing, thank you.
You're welcome. That I will say, meeting adjourned.